Happy Monday, all you Minties! This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and joining me today for an advanced look at the Mighty Thor Omnibus Volume 1 reprint from Marvel Comics. So, stay tuned. Before getting started, I want to give a huge shout out to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on January 25th. And speaking of direct market and book market, what we're looking at here is the standard edition cover. This is the one that's going to be available through the book market, like places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere. Now, the cover on your left, that is only available through the direct market. So meaning places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, Walt's Comic Shop, Dying Breed Collectors, In-Stock Trades, Organic Price Books, DCBS, Tales of Wonder, or your local comic book shop will be able to get you that copy of that direct market cover. And of course, the direct market cover is by Jack Kirby, and the standard edition cover here is by Oliver Coppel. And it is the one that I used to have. That's right, so this is a new printing of Thor, the original Silver Age stories. And we'll talk about what's the content here in a little bit, but the new printing does have, again, both covers, the direct market and standard edition cover, like the original printing did. However, we have a new design on the spine. This is the same design that Marvel has been using for reprints or new printings of their Silver Age material. Here it is right next to Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange will also have the new design on the spine. Marvel Omnibus, The Mighty Thor, Lee and Kirby, the image of Thor right there, and Volume 1. On the back are the covers to the comics that are collected in here. The book retails for $100. And then there is a blurb here. Norse myth and Marvel's distinctive brand of wildly kinetic cosmic melodrama. Wow, it's a pretty good way of describing it. That's from the LA Times. So underneath the dust jacket is the Mighty Thor logo right there. The Mighty Thor with the exact... Actually, this is the exact same spine as the dust jacket spine. And then the popular hammer. Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. So, let's get this book open and look at the artwork, talk about the stories and how important they are. And I don't have my original copy anymore. I sold it a long time ago to replace it with the Epics. So, I don't have a comparison to make. I did want to state that before going any further. But let's take a look at this artwork, and then we'll talk about the build of the book. Alright, so let's get this book opened. The book retails for $100 and has 768 pages. Thor, Volume 1, Collecting Journey in a Mystery, 83 to 120, and Annual Number 1, by Stan Lee and Jack the King Kirby. So here is where you're going to find all the credits. So all the writers, Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, Robert Bernstein, who I think was going by Rob B, I think at the time, or something like that. It wasn't his full name. Jack Kirby, Al Hartley, Joe Sinnott, Don Heck, and then, of course, a lot of the inkers and letters. And unfortunately, at the time, they weren't crediting the colorists. Sometimes the pencilers or inkers were doing the colors, but they didn't credit them, so unfortunately, no credits for the colors. And then we have the table of contents here. So this collects, like I said, all of Journey in a Mystery number 83 to 120, as well as Annual Number 1. And what you're going to have in here are the introductions from the Marvel Masterworks. This is exactly the way that the original printing was mapped. So here we have an introduction by Stan Lee from 1991. That's when the very first Mighty Thor Volume 1 Masterwork was introduced. So all of the restoration and all of the artwork comes from those masters from the Marvel Masterworks line. So this book was kind of easy to put together. I say that having no idea how to actually put these files together. But kicking it off with Journey in a Mystery number 83. This is where Thor was introduced. In the 50s, Journey in a Mystery was a comic book that was published by Atlas Comics. It was a horror comic. It was like a horror anthology. And then, of course, because of the Comics Code, later on in the, I think issues like 24, 25, it became a monster magazine. So like the big monsters that Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko were known for drawing. And then in August of 1962, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby with Larry Lieber decided to create this character and bring in some power to the Marvel Universe, bring in some gods. So they created this character based, of course, on the actual god, Thor, god of thunder. Thor. So the origin, of course, is a little bit different. The origin is we have these rock men from Saturn that come and invade Earth. Dr. Donald Blake is just chilling in Norway. He's taking a vacation. And, he's got a bad leg. So he runs away from them, goes inside of this cave, and finds this, what he's going to consider something to, help him walk around in. However, when trying to get out of this cave, he takes this turns out to be a magical staff, beats it up against the rock, and he is magically transformed into the Mighty Thor. And again, the hammer right there. Now, the hammer's not given a name until, I think, later on. It's not... It should be in the next volume, like issue 135 of Thor, or something like that, if I remember correctly. They actually don't... They just call it Thor's hammer. Towards the very beginning of Thor in Journey into Mystery, Stan Lee is really taking a back seat. He's letting his brother, Larry Lieber, do a lot of the writing. So the stories are kind of hokey. They're a lot of... how do I put it? He's fighting like these pretty lame villains, with the exception of Loki. I really do like the story of Loki. This here, and my daughter's actually read this, and we reviewed it. Yeah, we did. We did a review of the very first few issues of Thor, and both of them really enjoyed it. I didn't think they were going to. Now, later on, when Stan Lee joins as the plotter and the scripter, the stories really start taking shape. We see less of Thor hanging out here in Midgard or Earth, and we start seeing him dealing with more and more gods. So a lot of his supporting casts do appear in this particular omnibus. We have Jane Foster, we have Odin, we have Balder, we have the Warriors 3, Volstagg, Hogun, Fandral. Of course, we have Odin. I think I mentioned that already. We have the Enchantress. We have... Sif. Lady Sif appears through these pages. And then, of course, we have some of his big arch nemesis like Loki. But we also get the Absorbing Man. We get the Grey Gargoyle through these pages. You get the first appearance of Cobra, Mr. Hyde, the Radioactive Man. And then Zarko, who's one of my favorite earlier villains. He's the man from the future, the Tomorrow Man. But then you get the first appearance in the very last book that's collected in here. Here's the Radioactive Man, who eventually becomes part of the Thunderbolts. The last book that's collected in here is the very first appearance of Hercules. And I thought that was so cool to put this Greek god Hercules against this Asgardian god Thor. And it's not just Hercules, it's Pluto and all these other gods from Greek mythology that join in that particular issue of... the Mighty Thor, annual number 1. Thought that was a cool way to introduce the character. And then, of course, you also get guest stars in here. Like, a lot of his Avengers buddies come through here and do a special guest appearance. Now, there are some really cool stories in here. Like, when he battles Hulk, there's this whole question as to who was stronger, Thor, God of Thunder, or was it Hulk? So, that was a cool... one issue in this particular collection that you're going to find. And like I said, most of the artwork in here you're going to see from Jack Kirby. Don Heck does a lot of the artwork. And then something happens in the pages of Journey into Mystery that the character just grows more and more. I mean, he becomes so popular that he stops, like you'll see towards the very beginning of Journey into Mystery. He shared the magazine with other stories. But by the time you get to issues like number 90 something, like he has taken full charge. He is the main person that people are coming to read about. And then Stan Lee and Jack Kirby start creating something in the backup issues, in the back pages, like 5 little pages of something called the Tales of Asgard. And it's usually focusing on Thor during his younger days, Thor and Loki. Because they've got this whole history together, and I'm assuming readers wanted to read what that really was all about, so they started introducing these tales of... Here, let me show you. So right here, for example, Tales of Asgard, home of the mighty Norse gods, and then this particular title right here called Banish from Asgard. So this all takes place mainly in Thor and Loki's past. Oh, this is a cool issue back here. He has to fight the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Because, the Marvel Universe was all one big universe. So these characters, these villains that would appear in the pages of X-Men would come and appear in the pages of Thor. Now, you're not going to see collected in here, of course, Avengers #1, which kind of hoped like they would throw in here, but it doesn't really need it. But it is the issue where Loki brings all of these characters together to form the Avengers. There's the Grey Gargoyle, Mr. Hyde, and Cobra. I think he's known as King Cobra these days. All the letter pages are intact, but they don't start appearing until issue 109. I think issue 109 is the very first time they have a letter page. Yeah, this right here, Zarko, the Tomorrow Man. I love when he takes him to the future and the idea of what the future is going to be like. And one of my favorite things is like the ideas that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee had, very similar to the ideas that a lot of people had back then. Like I like the whole moving sidewalk. Like humanity has just gotten so lazy that we need a moving sidewalk to move us around. But what was I saying? Oh yes, the letter pages. So I think it's issue number 109. Here, let's get to it. So yes, back to the issue with Magneto. That's where you're going to see the first letter page, which is from issue 109. This is another one. See what I mean? Like a young Loki and a young Thor. And for about just 5 to 6 pages sometimes in the backup stories. And Jack Kirby was just able to just have fun with that. Because he was able to create this whole Asgardian world. Like in the vision that he had in his head. Of course, Stan Lee. Here's another letter page. There's the fight with the Absorbing Man. And man, he gets his butt whooped by the Absorbing Man when the Absorbing Man first appears. Then, of course, they have to have a rematch because a hero can't lose to the Absorbing Man. There's Balder, more of Odin. So you get to see more and more of Asgard. I love that about these particular stories. To me, I think the better stories came in the second half of this particular omnibus. There's the Destroyer, his first appearance. But let's get to this annual #1. Aha, here we go. 72 big pages. Annual #1 from 1965. So he also gets to fight the Lava Man in here. But the main fight, of course, is with Hercules. Just both of these bigger-than-life characters fighting each other. I'm sure this was amazing to see. Like, if you were a kid reading Thor, getting to see him fight another god. That's awesome. He even comes in with, like, a very similar belt design where Thor had the big T. Hercules has the H. I will say that this is, I remember correctly, yeah. So this is, this was an introduction from 1974 by Stan Lee, talking about his creation of Thor. What I was going to say is that I think this is one of the few Omnis that I used to have, that I don't remember there was a lot of extras in the back. This is really cool, though. This is the original cover art production for Journey into Mystery number 83. And it was changed. So you see some missing Rockmen back here, of course. Because they wanted to focus more on Thor. So what it ended up looking like is that. So you see a lot of the stone men have been removed. So you can just focus on the composition of Thor. Him whirling around his hammer. But that's really cool that they put that back here. Some original pages, some house ads that feature other characters. And then Marvel Tales, which are reprints of those classic stories. And in case you only have the direct market cover, you do have the standard edition cover back here by Kuiper. Now, as far as the binding and quality of this particular omnibus, it is printed at the iMac printer. It is sewn binding. Here's what the eye looks like. The only thing I will say is that it does have thinner paper than, of course, the first printing. And sometimes during white pages, you could tell like some of the artwork is coming through from the opposite page. And I know that bothers some people. For example, here, I'm not sure if you can tell or not. Let me see if I can zoom in. You can see some of the word bubbles coming in from the other page, from right here. So I did want to point that out because I know that bothers some people. Doesn't bother everybody, but I like to make sure that I show that in case that is an issue for some people. Like I mentioned, 768 pages, retailing for $100, coming out January 25th. This is what all the movies are based on, all the future comics, including some of my favorite runs like Walter Simonson's run or Jason Aaron's run. If not for this, none of that would be here. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this book, don't forget to check out our sponsor. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely in an excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out the bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they are now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. CGN is currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is valid for U.S. customers only. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this printing of the Mighty Thor. Let me know in the comments down below if you are going to upgrade your Epic collections, if you have the Masterworks, if you have the original printing and are hoping that this particular printing sells, so we'll get a Volume 4 later down the road. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any more questions, leave your questions down below. Don't forget to smash that like button and ring that bell for notifications to let you know our videos are going live. We are on Spreadshop and on Patreon. Amazing ways to support the channel, and thank you so much to our existing patrons. Could not be making videos like this possible without you all. And more importantly, everyone, stay healthy, stay safe, and much love.